Welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing 3 films that are out of print in the Criterion Collection. In other words, I can't just go online to the Criterion website or Barnes & Noble and buy the Criterion. I'd have to find it on eBay or somewhere else or in another version from another company. And it really is sad to me because I love these films. And for example, the first film I'm going to talk about here is a very popular one. This is called Rosemary's Baby. And I don't like the cover art on this one. You all might. You can let me know in the comments if you disagree, but I love the actual original cover on Rosemary's Baby that is on the Blu-ray. And I remember a few years back, like looking, in Barnes & Noble and just thinking it would be there forever, and it wasn't. But that having been said, I do have this 4K here and a Blu-ray included as well. And I've been reading the book. In the book, if you haven't read the book, it's not too different from the movie. They're very, very similar. So read the book if you haven't, okay, just as a heads up. But if you haven't ever heard of Rosemary's Baby and you've never seen the movie and it's something unfamiliar to you, this is a story with which, gosh, how do you talk about Rosemary's Baby without spoiling anything? Well, here you go. This young couple, this actor named Guy Woodhouse and his wife, played here beautifully as Rosemary by Mia Farrow, and just a terrific performance from her. They move into this apartment. And, basically there's a pregnancy. The problem is that this apartment complex has a sordid history of everything from suicides to occult activity, cannibalism, and some of the conflict of the story does revolve around the apartment. But really, in many ways, this is a story about a woman who has to take on, at times, the entire world as she attempts to protect her unborn baby and herself. It's an extremely well-produced piece of filmmaking. It's beautiful to look at. It's creepy. It's eerie. It has so many different types of horror within it, but most of it's a slow burn character study in some ways, although I got to tell you, I forgot how good John Cassavetes was. John Cassavetes, who's directed multiple films in the Criterion Collection. He's terrific in it. And one of the reasons I really want this back in the collection is just because I love whenever the Criterion Collection can pick up a film that has a meaningful commentary on faith or religion or culture the way this one does. And one of the best supporting actress performances in history from Ruth Gordon as Minnie, the curious, overbearing, too curious neighbor. I believe she was in Harold and Maude, right? That film. And the whole cast, top to bottom, it's great. And like I said, read the book. Those of you that are thinking, yeah, I love Rosemary's Baby too, read the book. The end of Rosemary's Baby, the first time I saw it, I remember not really liking that and liking the rest of the film. But I actually think if you go read the book and you've seen the movie, you may or may not. I mean, I really liked what it did. It just does a little bit more than the movie, and I think it helps it a little bit. But I don't know. It's something to think about if you're like me and you've sometimes had mixed feelings about the end. It does, for those of you who haven't seen Rosemary's Baby, one of the very best dream sequences, nightmare sequences in any film I've ever seen is in this film. It's so well done. You have to see it. Rosemary's Baby. And hopefully, like I said, I just really don't like this artwork with the double meaning there. Don't like it at all. Okay. When we're talking about films about family, which that one, there's a lot of dysfunction in the families in that film. Who made better films related to family than the great grandmaster of all movies, the greatest director, in my opinion, Yasujiro Ozu. And if you watch my channel, I talk about Ozu constantly. And I just watched an Ozu film I hadn't watched, which these days is difficult because every time I watch another Ozu film, a new one, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to run out. But I hadn't seen Equinox Flower before, and this is out of print. Equinox Flower is in the Series 3 Late Ozu. There's another DVD pack that they did like this, the Silent Ozus, and I think I've seen one or two or three of them. I've seen a few different Silent Ozus. They're also good. But this film, we have multiple Ozus in the collection, like Tokyo Story, Floating Weeds, you name it. But this Ozu film is something not a lot different than what he normally does, but how he did it, I think, is kind of unique. So this film is a comedy, sort of. It's not quite as comedic as something like Good Morning. So So if you enjoyed Good Morning, which I did a review on a while back, and you like that comedy, it's not quite that light, but it is a comedy nonetheless. And basically, it's this story about a man and a daughter who are disagreeing about how she should be married. That's a very common, Ozu plot. There's nothing more to it than that, other than that there's, sort of one old-fashioned way of looking at things, and then some of the characters in it are a little bit newer. It does not have I don't think it has Setsuko Hara, although the main character, the daughter who's disagreeing with how she should be married, is named Setsuko. And it also has a little bit of Shisharyu, who is a big actor from those movies, but he has a smaller role. He gets to sing in the movie. Of all of the films that he's done, this is one of the easiest to digest in terms of how you're going to feel emotionally, watching the interactions between the characters. It is a story about how, like many, how parents can care too much, or young people, maybe sometimes they're hasty, but maybe it doesn't matter. I feel like this is as good-natured of any film he's made. And it's kind of tough to talk about Equinox Flower without spoiling around the plot, but I do remember thinking this might be a little bit lesser from him than some of the others, and it's not. It's just different, and I think maybe it's kind of been overlooked because it is so different. It's not as dramatic and crushing as something like aforementioned Tokyo Story, or if you've watched Tokyo Twilight, that's in this same set. It's nothing like that. Things work a little less terribly overall. Emotional film, great film. If you like his other stuff, I think you'll like it, and I do think it needs a reprint, also because it's just another side of Ozu that we don't always get in some of his other most famous films. And so I would love to see this back in the collection, especially since I think they put the Flavor of Green Tea Over Rice is in the collection, which I also have and I like. I think every time they put an Ozu film in there, it's a slam dunk. And finally, one that I really, really wish was in there comes from this Carl Theodor Dreyer BFI set that I have. So this is not Criterion. This BFI set has Gertrude, the Master of the House, Debt, and it has a film I really love that I talk about every so often on here called Day of Wrath. And when I got this, I was kind of shocked at how minimal this BFI release was. This almost looks a little bit like the cases that you used to get GameCube preview games in. Just real flimsy, even more so than that cheap old Ozu DVD. But there's a Day of Wrath copy in here, and Day of Wrath is talked about a little bit in this essay. And I think, again, this looks like a Criterion product would do, how they do their essays. This story is about rural Denmark, and an old woman we see is being hunted for being a witch. There's something that happens with her in witchcraft, and does she get caught or not? And then there's this young woman, Anne, who tries to help hide her, and she has an elderly husband, and that elderly husband has a stepson. And, well, you kind of get the idea. It's kind of awkward. There's another suspicious individual throughout. One of Dreyer's great films about faith, and if you liked, I hadn't even thought about this before I was getting ready to film. There's a film, Witch Hunter or Witch something. I'll try to remember to make a comment when I'm editing this. Witch Hammer, and that's in the All That Haunts Be Ours. It's in one of the volumes of that. If you've seen that, you'll probably like this. It's similar. Another scathing commentary about theocracies gone wild. You got that with the Passion of Joan of Arc, which I've talked about on here before. Another great Dreyer film. And so if you like that, I think you would like Day of Wrath. It's very like the essay talks about. There's like this cold Puritanism throughout, similar to Winterlight by Bergman. That director, that film, it has a little bit of that vibe going on, although it's obviously a different time period. But it is cold, it is distant, and it's just awful to watch in a way, especially the stuff that happens with the witch accusations. That part of the film is almost like a separate subplot in a way. It does link to what happens with Anne and her husband and so forth and the stepson, but real intense, real beautiful, great black and white film with terrific individual images that I just don't. I think there was a Dreyer set that's out of print now, and I just would love to see that come back if it could. And all three of these are great films that I think have a substantial value culturally, religiously, politically, whatever. Like, they're just really well-made films, so I'd like to see them come back. And those were three of the ones that I had in mind. I'm thinking about doing another one of these videos of Criterions that are out of print that you can still get, if you go on eBay or whatever, but I'd like to see them come back. Oh, I just dropped my Day of Wrath. That's kind of creepy, huh? Well, anyway, I've got a few others that I wanted to talk about, maybe in another video. But anyway, if you like this video and you want to click like, do me a favor, help grow the channel. I'd appreciate it. That does grow it. Also comments too, like I wanted to hear what you all wanted to come back to the collection or be in the collection, period. I did have a video where I talked about the movies I would put in the Criterion Collection if I could wave my little magic cinema wand and put them in there. Yeah, tell me what do you want that's already out of print to come back. I might do a video on those as well, and consider subscribing if you haven't, because I cover lots of Criterion stuff, Western stuff, obviously. If you look back there, you probably see that. And we'll see you next time on Cody in the Cinema.